move, you can come up here.
Cool. I can do that.
Reading your tripod.
Yeah. I'm gonna have you guys. Sorry, Ron, threw you off there.
No, he's good.
Take one of those and pass it if you don't mind. Yeah, you can have that one. All good. Well, good morning, guys. Y'all ready to learn about some real estate?
Absolutely.
Well, you're not going to. Surprise, gotcha. So I kind of wanted to jumpstart here today. What we've got going around is I wanted to make sure I'm providing you guys with some sort of value that might actually help your professional lives and maybe even your personal lives back home. So what you have got in front of you, I actually taught a class in my office the other day on this, and this is a really interesting thing called a disc profile. So has anybody in the room ever heard of a disc profile or understand how about like Myers-Briggs personality? Have y'all heard of that before? So what we've got here with a disc profile is really just a kind of quick way to understand different communication styles with people. And so I thought this would be really beneficial for you guys, like I said, whether it's at home with your family members, spouses, loved ones, or whether it's in your professional career. And so the rule of thumb here, it's DISC, it stands for something. So of course we all have a little bit of each of these characteristics in us as humans. However, we have more dominant traits than other ones. And so as you look at this, you can see that people typically fall into 4 different types of buckets. And that's not that we ever want to put people in a corner or put them in a bucket. However, there are rules of thumb, right? And so by understanding how different people communicate, you can communicate more effectively. So you got to know where you are and what your starting point is to be able to know where other people are and perhaps your opportunities to communicate with them. So as you look through this, this is just a really good breakdown. So the D stands for a dominant personality style. These are people who are very quick to the point, like bullet points, bull in a china shop, if you will. I'm sure all of us know some people like that. Admittedly, I am one of those people. Your I's are your influencers. So those are the people who are the life of the party. People who like talking a whole lot, typically, like knowing what's going on, where the party is, where the open house is in my world, right? Your S's are those people who are steady and consistent, don't like to rock the boat a whole lot, very just even-tempered, even-keeled throughout the process. And then your C personality type is those who are extremely analytical and conscientious. So people who like following the rules. If you've got a manual or a guidebook, those are the people who are going to follow it to a T. And so what's cool about this, right, is by kind of knowing that there are 4 primary communication styles, if you know what somebody across from you is when you're working with them in a business setting, if you cater your style to those people, you can better communicate and build better rapport with them. And so I was watching a funny video the other day about this actually, and it mentioned like there's actually different birds associated with these personality styles. And so if you think of a D personality, that's like your eagle. It's somebody who's like very direct, driven, if you will. Your I is like somebody who's a parrot, very talkative, you know, loud, energetic. Your S personality type is somebody who's a dove, so you know, not too high, not too low, just middle of the road. And then your C is an owl. So like a lot of times, you know, I've got a baby boy at home, and a lot of children's books, there's like an owl with glasses, right? And that's like you're very like thoughtful, like conscientious type person. So anyway, hopefully you'll find value in this, something that you can take home. All of these are for you. And keep that in mind, you know, it's just a good rule of thumb as you're talking with people. So hopefully you'll find value there. So in terms of the real estate side of things, obviously, as Rodney pointed out, we've got a lot of changes going on right now, right? So you've got some seasonality taking place. You also have interest rates going up, which are creating some interesting market factors. So before we kind of hop in more into that side, if you don't mind, flip this over, and if you've got a pen, draw just like a line down it, and if not, just visualize it and play around. But I want to ask you guys, so the organization that I'm a part of, right, so I'm with Keller Williams Realty, and yet I do run a real estate team here locally, a division of a real estate team. And so I do this with a lot of people that I have conversations with. So if you've got a line down the middle of your paper, on the left-hand side, you know, mathematically speaking, we all have 4 grandparents. Tracking with me? So write down the names of your 4 grandparents on the left-hand side. Yep. And if you don't know them, that's totally okay, right? Just think through what are the names of your 4 grandparents, right? And so based on some market research we've actually done over the years, we know that like 85% of people know all 4 of their grandparents' names, right? Now on the right-hand side, mathematically speaking, we have 8 great-grandparents. So write your great-grandparents' names on the right-hand side of this. Now, part 1 may have been a little bit easier, and about 85% of people across the country know their grandparents' names, and yet 10 or less % of people actually can name all 8 great-grandparents.
Put me in that
Yeah.
category.
and I'm right in there. I'm right in there as well. Like I didn't know this when this exercise was done for me, right? And so the point we make with this exercise, and especially me when I'm talking with talent and other real estate professionals and so forth, right, is if we don't even know our great-grandparents, that's only 2 generations, right? What sort of legacy or what did they do for you if you don't even know their name? And chances are probably not a whole lot. And that's kind of a unique situation to be in. We took it a step further in the real estate business, and we looked at National Association of Realtors and all their numbers and metrics and so forth, right? And they said that the average real estate professional, when they retire from their career, they only have about $60,000 to their name. And quite honestly, it was, excuse my French, but kind of a damning statistic, right? And so they take a look at that. Average real estate professional retired with plus or minus 60 grand in the bank, and they don't even know their great-grandparents' names. And so my organization at the 5 Doors Network, we actually have set out to create generational wealth and transform family trees throughout the real estate business. And so we're doing that through our agent member partners, as well as helping educate our clients so that they can change their family trees as well through real estate. And so that's kind of a differentiating point, and I set all that up for you because I've been in the business several years now. I know that, quite honestly, there's a lot of people who aren't running a true real estate business, and yet we've really taken that to the next level by giving back to the community and educating our client base. And so that's kind of a differentiating point, if you will. Now, how did I end up here, right? So currently in my role within the real estate world running my team, I wear 3 primary hats, right? So I really head up talent acquisition for my Sumner County division. So I'm in charge of B2B, meeting with other real estate professionals. So I'm always looking for talent and introductions to talented people in the real estate business, whether they're licensed or not licensed. We can have that conversation and walk them through that. Secondly, I coach and train my current agents, right? So as the leader, the rainmaker is what we call them, I train my agents day to day on how to conduct their business, get more clients, make more sales, change their family trees. And then the third hat that I wear is I do still service real estate clients. So I'm always looking for people, whether they're looking to buy, sell, or invest. I'm always working with individuals because that's my primary stream of income, right? So 2 years ago, 2016, 5 Doors Network, right? So we are what you call an expansion team. So you may be familiar with real estate teams. So think of a team here locally. At some point, right, you saturate the market and you start to expand. So maybe you go to a different market here in Middle Tennessee. Let's say you go out to Williamson County if you started up here. Well, what we have done is we've literally just crossed state lines. And so we're in over 25 cities across the United States, which means I've also got phenomenal referral partners all across the country. So even if you don't have people necessarily here, but you know a brother, sister, cousin in a different state, I can put them in touch with a great professional out there who's going to take care of their family as well. And so what's cool about that, though, is we have the strength in numbers. So we still fall under the Keller Williams umbrella, and yet because we are a little bit smaller, we still have the financial backing from some large investors, and yet we're small enough to pivot and keep up with the times. And so in 2016, we actually won, there's a publication called Inman out on the West Coast, and Inman briefs out of LA. We won an innovation award for the top real estate innovative team in the entire country. And quite honestly, when we look at the landscape of the real estate world, we're seeing some big shifts, and they're happening right now. And the fact of the matter, I don't know if y'all are familiar with Pareto's principle, the 80-20 principle, right? Well, 20% of real estate professionals make about 80% of the money in our business. And conversely, there's about 80% of our agent base, or 4 out of 5 people, who literally have their heads in the sand as to where our business is going. And they're not staying up to date with the technology that's disrupting our business. I mean, you look at a Blockbuster, or how many people take a cab nowadays, right? And some of these other industries that have been disrupted, and the technology moving into the real estate space is real and it's here. And so quite honestly, some of the conversations we're having, we expect about 40% of the real estate agent base to drop out in the next 18 months. And so that's a real thing going on right now. And so we'd love to be in conversations with people to see what we can do to provide value and perhaps even save them from, pursuing a different career path. So how did I get here in Hendersonville and so forth? So I started out about 4.5 years ago as a buyer's agent out in Franklin. So buyer's agents, I was only working with buyers. I had a teammate who was running the listing side of the business. Saw that I didn't want to do that forever. I gravitated towards working with sellers. So I went out on my own, had a pretty successful real estate career as a solo agent for a couple of years. And then I was actually asked to be a real estate coach. So I was the productivity coach in Mount Juliet over the entire Keller Williams office out there. And so I had 40 to 45 agents that I was coaching, and I was super passionate about it. And yet one night I came home for dinner, and my wife and I sat down and we said, man, I'm working a lot harder for a lot less money. And it just didn't add up. And the reality of it is that National Association of Realtors tells us that 3 out of 4 realtors get out of the business in the first 2 years. And so we have high turnover in our business because a lot of people don't understand you're running a business. You're not just a sales professional, you're actually running a real business, and making that mindset shift it is difficult for a lot of people. And so what I found myself is I was coaching all these people up and training them, and 3 out of 4 were out the door. And that was just national statistics. And so I went back to my sales career as a solo agent, sat down for coffee with who is now my regional director last year, and was introduced to 5 Doors. And really the reason that I'm hearing, I was the first hire to run a division of the team here in Middle Tennessee. So now we have 5 different divisions. We're in Clarksville, Murfreesboro, Green Hills, Hendersonville, and Mount Juliet. So of course we service everybody everywhere if they're in our multiple listing service. So whether it's somebody in White House or Spring Hill, I do everything Dixon and everywhere in between Lebanon. And so we're always welcoming referrals. That word of mouth really is the bulk of our business, where it comes from. Of course, we have a slew of other things and activities that we do, but really the relationships we have with individuals like you is how we're able to be successful and have a sustainable business, if that makes sense. So, at the end of the day, I'm a big believer in if you help enough people get what they want, eventually you'll get what you want and the money will follow. And so I just thank you guys for allowing me to be a part of this business builder group, and look forward to servicing all you guys with all your real estate related needs, friends, family, colleagues. Hey, you know what, if it's as simple as I've got a real estate related question, I need some information, give me a buzz. I handle that kind of stuff all day. Or hey, if it's my sister needs to sell her house, or whatever it is, right? Whether it's something big, something small, anywhere in between, we're really here to service and help and be an educator for you guys. I understand, like, we all have different career paths, right? And I wouldn't walk in, to Gay's place and think I know how to run a catering business, right? And so I don't expect you to have a firm knowledge of what's going on in my world, just like I wouldn't know what's going on in Bryce's world. And so if I can ever be a resource for you or your loved ones, we would love the opportunity to work for you. Thank you guys so much.